Well, it's been a while since I've done an 850R video, so I thought I'd take this out today, just kind of let it stretch its legs. It's been sitting for a couple weeks and probably needs to get out, get the fluids run through it. IPD exhaust sounding good as always. Yeah, let's go for a drive. Probably jinx myself by saying this, but knock on wood, trim, this car is finally properly dialed in. I am really feeling good about where this thing sits right now. It is, it's so good. Such a solid feeling car. The brakes are awesome now. It just feels good. The suspension's proper. I think the power is just about right for the chassis. It really, really feels nice. And it sounds good too with the combination of the engine mounts from IPD and the Turboback exhaust. You really can't go wrong. Let's take a left here. There were some cops here earlier, so we're just going to look out for those guys. Yep, there they are. Just having a nice casual conversation. A lot of police out today. It's the end of the month, and I'm sure they've got some quotas to meet. So not much has been new with this car. I've been taking on a lot of trips out to Pittsburgh, hanging with Dr. M3, and just kind of cruising around with the supercar crowd out there. Those guys have been, we've had a lot of good times this summer. It's been great. This 850R actually keeps up pretty well with some of the faster metal out in the Pittsburgh area. It does a nice job. I've been quite impressed with just how good of a highway pull car this is. Speaking of which, let's give it a little bit of a jaunt right here. Gosh, those brakes are awesome. I love the bite they give. Oh yeah. 850R still sings. Throw it into sport mode, it holds the revs up just a little bit higher than normal. Shifts happen quicker. It's good. One thing I can't remember if I mentioned or not in a video is the front rotors that I got, the bigger 302mm rotors that I got from O'Reilly's, were actually not completely round. It was weird. They weren't machined correctly from the factory. And I was actually getting a pretty significant vibration at speed, about 70, 80 miles an hour from the front wheel. It wasn't happening under braking, it was just happening as I sped up. And I noticed it right after I put the new brakes on. So I went back the other day, took them the old rotors, warrantied them out, which was nice, and the car is perfectly smooth now. It feels fantastic. Kind of a weird issue to have. You'd think that machines that are machining rotors would do a good job and make them perfectly round, but that wasn't quite the case. And it was significant enough that I actually noticed it when installing the rotors on the car. But this car feels so good right now. I love it. Couple issues that probably need to be taken care of at some point is pretty much all the speakers in this car are blown or ripped or just old. The original speakers. It can definitely use a speaker upgrade. I'm thinking I definitely want to keep the stock head unit. I like the original look of this. All the buttons on the dash are great, and the CD slot makes kind of a good place to put my phone. So I think I'll keep the stock head unit, but replace all the speakers. From Volvo, the speakers are outrageously expensive. The rear deck speakers are something like $800-900, maybe even close to $1,000. And that's just not worth it. So I'm probably going to take it to an audio shop. If anyone knows of a good audio place in Southeast Michigan, let me know. It's probably something I'd be interested in doing either this winter or in the spring once it warms up a little bit. The other thing is the heater, the fan motor is getting a little bit noisy, but it's been kind of noisy on and off throughout the last few years, and it seems to be holding pretty well. It's only when I turn the heat on. And so I could probably take care of that eventually too. Otherwise, this car has been rock solid. I actually haven't put a lot into maintenance in this in the few years that I've owned it. I've just done a few things on my own. It needed a new turbo control valve, so I got one from IPD and put that in. Actually, one of the hoses was disconnected and it was over boosting just a little bit, and the car was so much faster with that disconnected hose. And then when I put the proper TCV on, it's starting to act like stock now. So it'd be nice to get a manual boost controller one of these days. Just do some basic power mods to this. But honestly, right now, I'm super happy with the way the car is, and I figure it's probably going to be a little bit more reliable and better for longevity to just kind of keep it as close to stock as possible. Getting a little bit of squeal from the Porterfield R4S pads, but for the most part, for how high performance they are pretty quiet. They do dust quite a bit, but there's always a trade-off with brakes. Nice. I think he had the same idea as I do today. Oh yeah. 850R gets up and goes. So, in other news, you may have seen this on the Instagram, or you may have seen it on just a little post I made on YouTube a few days ago. I've bought a new car. I actually bought another Miata. This, however, is a little bit different from the Miata that I have. And my black Miata is actually going to be going up for sale soon. And I'll post a video about all that and everything. But the new Miata is coming in. It's either getting delivered tomorrow or Friday. And it's an 8,800 RPM, about 230, 240 horsepower K20 A2 swapped Miata. It's got all the good suspension bits, all the chassis tuning. It was actually built by 9for9 Racing, and High Tech built the motor, and it's got cams and intake stuff, and it's really it's a pretty high dollar, pretty in-depth build. It's a well set up car. I bought it sight unseen. I haven't driven it yet. I'm hoping that it's an absolute riot to drive, and it's going to be kind of the track car. It's going to replace my black car and basically just kind of be a beast. I'm tired of getting passed by everyone on the straightaways, so I decided to get something with just double the horsepower, and I think that'll do the trick. This basically came up for sale a couple weeks ago, and I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it be. I had to basically make the jump and snap it up. This is a car that I've been following for quite some time, and I just couldn't let it go. 850R. Definitely holding on to this. What is this guy doing here? Oh yeah. So it'll be the BRZ, the orange K-swapped Miata, and this. So I'm not sure when I'm going to put the Miata up for sale, the black car. It'll probably be in the next few weeks. I'll let you guys know. I think I'm going to put it up for about $7,000. I think I can get $7,000 for it. That's about what it's worth on the market these days. NA Miatas are going up a little bit. you're seeing pretty low mileage examples, 90s, 91s going for $10, $12, $13,000. And for the money that I've put into this, it's got all the best suspension stuff. It's got 9for9 Racing, Zeta shocks and coilovers, and it's a pretty good build. Big brake kit. It's just, it works. Basically, if you're running in the Midwest, you're pretty much ready to go for track days. The brakes will last all day. The engine is super strong. It's just a really well set up, well built car. If you're looking for something that you can just run and do track work with, you really can't get it anything that's as track worthy as this for any less money. So it's been a good car. I'll miss it, but I'm sure this 9for9 Racing K-swap Miata is gonna be a good replacement. And this is ultimately what I wanted to do with the black car in the long run, except it's going to save me a lot of time and probably a lot of money in the end. K-swaps these days are probably about 8 to 10 grand into a K-swap, and I paid 15 for this Miata. So I think it's just going to be a fun car. I'm really looking forward to it. I've seen one video online about it. It's on Laguna Seca doing a couple laps, and it looks quick. It looks really quick. So we'll see. I'll do a video of it when I get delivery. I'm not sure when I'll be able to drive it. Weather's been pretty cold out, and it's on Hankook RS4s. It's on the new RS4s. I doubt it's going to do well in the cold, so we'll see. It might suck having to wait to drive it, but that's just the way it goes. I still can't get over how flat this car corners on the IPD Sway Bars. Pretty much stock suspension otherwise. Sax shocks up front. Dashboards rattle in these old 850s quite a bit. You can fix it by replacing the mounting tabs, but it's probably a little bit more of an involved job than I want to get into right now, and honestly, the car's been great. It really only makes it over bumps, and in video it sounds worse than it actually is. So my buddy, Jared, who actually I bought this car from, he just picked up a black 850R wagon earlier this week, I think. Or no, last week. It was about a week ago. And it's pretty clean. It might be as clean as this car when I got it from him. And he's going to do some detail work to it. He's got a few things that he needs to get done, a few little maintenance items. But that's going to be a pretty solid car for him. I think he was maybe waiting for me to sell this back to him in a few years, but honestly, I have no intention of getting rid of this car. It is, it's so good. It's so much fun to drive, and it's in such good condition that I'm pretty much, I don't want it to go anywhere. And honestly, these 850Rs are getting harder and harder to find, especially in decent condition. So he snapped this one up locally, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I actually haven't taken a look at the car yet. I drove past his house the other day and kind of just slowly creeped by, and it looks pretty clean from photos. One thing is it does have the black plastic trim that's been painted. It's got a tan interior, black exterior, automatic. That's the only version they brought to the United States. But it should be a good car for him. I'm excited, and honestly, like, I really wanted the sedan because that was what I had as my first car. But the wagons are just, I think they're just inherently quite a bit cooler than the sedan. It's just the fact that it's a fast wagon. So I'm glad that he got the 5-door. That's pretty exciting. All right. Well, it looks like we're hitting a little bit of traffic here. I'm gonna wrap the video up at this point, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm really looking forward to the Miata coming in tomorrow or Friday and see if I can film something on that car. We'll see. Depends on weather. It's a California car. I don't want to get any salt on it. This car, I can drive it out in the salt a little bit. It doesn't matter. I don't like to drive it in the wet and the salt, but it's a Volvo. It's built in Sweden. It's not going to rust. It's going to be in good shape. But a Miata, on the other hand, is just a little bit of a different story. They didn't quite have the same rust coating and protective stuff as they did in a Volvo's. One drive is going to kill it, but still, just for the sake of it, I don't want to put it out in the salt just to get any bolts or any steel rusty. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video on the 850R. Not a whole lot of new news, but I've been driving this thing. I've turned over 120,000 miles a few weeks ago, did an oil change. It's just keeping it clean and keeping it running and enjoying it. We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you soon.